Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to Notes 5.2. We are rocking and rolling with equations, making sure that we totally understand this. So we're going to practice a lot today to truly master it. So first of all, just to review yesterday, I think the most tricky one was when you see division, you're going to actually multiply both sides by the number attached to the variable, and that's the exact number attached to it. So like in this one, if we've got x over 5 is equal to 10, I'm multiplying both sides by 5. X over 5 is division. That's a fraction, right? Some number divided by 5 gives me 10. So I multiply both sides by 5 and I get 50. Now, to explain why this works out, why these cancel out, I want to real quickly do kind of a long method here. So you've got 5 over really 1 times x over 5. Well, what is 5 times x? That's 5x. And what is 1 times 5? That is 5. Now you ask yourself, what is 5 divided by 5? It's 1. So that's why we're just left with x. Now, that's a very long way of explaining. I could just say times 5, and I like to put it up top. So I can do that diagonal cross off, and those basically equal 1. Even though 5 times 5 is not 1, it's 5 times x divided by 5 that equals 1. And that's why we just have x left over. So I've done that a couple times. Notice here, y over 3, I'm multiplying both sides by 3. W over negative 2, I'm multiplying not by 2, but by negative 2. Remember, the signs matter, okay? So we can cancel out the coefficients because they simplify to 1. Special case, if you got something like 3/4 x equals 6 here, you can really approach this two ways. First way, hey, I see multiplication. 3/4 times the number x gives me 6. So I can decide to go ahead and divide both sides by 3/4. In doing so, I'm going to go ahead and understand that this will cancel off to 1. I'll be left with x is equal to 6 divided by 3/4. And you got to remember your division rules for fractions. Really, you're going to flip that and multiply 6 times 4 and divide it by 3, or you can just use your calculator. But anyway, you're going to get 8. All right? The second way you can think of that is 3/4 x equals 6, and you can say, well, really, I have a division problem here. So why don't I go ahead and multiply both sides by 4? That cancels off. I'm not left with x, I'm left with 3x equals 6 times 4 is 24. And then, look, now I see multiplication, so I just go ahead and divide, right? So this is done in 2 steps. In this case, x still equals 8. This side is done in 2 steps. This is done in 1 step, however you like to do. So let's go ahead and get to some practice, right? So we're going to answer the riddle. What would you call a fish with 2 legs? Basically, you're going to solve a problem, and then you're going to cross out the letters, and the remaining letters at the bottom of the page are going to solve your riddle. So every time you answer something, you got to go to the back page and see if the answer is there and cross it off, kind of like I've done for a couple of them already. All right, so let's take a look at number 1. Right, I've helped you out here. You see addition, therefore you subtract. So draw your scales of justice. It's going to be helpful to have your calculator next to you. I see plus 64. My variable is on the left-hand side, so I work with the left-hand side, and I subtract 64 from both sides. X is equal to 116. So now your responsibility is to go to the back side, find where 116 is. There it is, ON, and simply cross that off. Right, that will not be in our answer. Go back to the front. Let's try number 2. Right, so I see subtraction, therefore I add. Draw your scales of justice. Again, I see subtraction, therefore my variable is on the left-hand side, therefore I add 17 to both sides. Putting the plus sign is important. Just like in the last problem, sorry, those cancel out because they're 0. These cancel out because they're 0, negative 17 plus 17. Drop down your variable exactly where it is. D is equal to, we've got 49. So go over to the back side, search for 49. There it is, TO, and cross off. Obviously, if you do a problem and you don't find an answer on the back side, you've done it wrong. So that's a good indication. Let me do one more with you before I release you to work on your own. Let's do number 6. So go ahead and draw your scales of justice. This time, you see that the variable is on the right-hand side, right? So we're going to actually work with the right-hand side of this equation. I see subtraction, therefore I add. So there, I'm going to go ahead and add 8.3 to both sides. In doing so, these cancel off. I drop down my variable exactly where it is. P is equal to 11.9. This looks a little weird. 11.9 equals P. It is the same thing as reading it left to right, P equals 11.9. So again, your responsibility is to go onto the back side, make sure that you find 11.9, excuse me, not 11.9, silly Mr. Mason, 13.9, and it's right here. Make sure you go ahead and cross it off. It will not be part of your answer. So the letters that are left over, you will literally put them in exact order in these boxes. All right, so get to work. I will tell you when we will work in partners. For right now, you can work individually and make sure you show all your work. Use that calculator to double check your work.